Tecton. No monster in this game exudes quite the same daddy energy that Tecton does. Smash. Scavenger Beast. Big eyes are a plus for me. Smash.
Welcome to episode 259 of the Wilderness Podcast. I am Dilz, and joining with me today is Mr. Trey.
Hello.
We're gonna be going through, I don't know, what do we call this? The smash or pass bosses smackdown. I don't know. We're gonna go through all the bosses in RuneScape, and we're gonna give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down. No, we're gonna break down all the different bosses and kind of go through what we love and what we hate about all of them, and then we'll give it the final verdict of do we smash this with a Dragon Warhammer and get the kill, or pass. But anyways, before we get into all of that, we had bingo kickoff in the clan this past Friday, so a lot of us have been going ham on the RuneScaping, and if I'm not mistaken, it's been a pretty crazy journey for both yourself and me. So Trey, I don't know, why don't you start? Why don't you tell us why don't you fill us all in on everything?
Yeah, I mean, I can cut right to the point. I got my enhanced. Yeah. That journey is over. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, we started off on Friday about 5 p.m. my time, and I told my team for bingo that I was going to be just locked into CG, like I said, I was going to do it till my eyes bleed just to get, because it was one of the higher point tiles for our team. So it was huge for the team, huge for my account. But Friday night I was in voice chat with my team. We were hanging out, and I just kept wiping at CG because, it's one of those things where when you're hanging out with your buds and stuff, you're distracted just enough that I kept failing prep and making dumb mistakes anyways.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'll wait till tomorrow morning. I like the early morning grinding. I'll just do some different content. So Saturday morning I get up and I ran 2 CGs before my coffee was even done brewing. And yeah, my second CG collection log slot completed. I was just, it's like a punch in the gut, just took all the breath out of me. I was just like, I ran in, my wife was in the bathroom. I ran into the bathroom and I was like, I got the drop. I was just like, I got the drop. And she was like, well, are you going to cry? I was like, no. And then I obviously started messaging everybody I could think of, and no, but yeah, it 525 KC was my final chest there. I've enhanced my Bofa, got the full crystal armor. So yeah,
looking back on the 500 kills, like, does it feel worth it? Are you gonna miss it? What do you feel when you reflect on this? Doesn't even feel like that long of a journey, I guess, from my side of things. But then again, I have like amnesia, and like I think it's just a result of having a kid. Time just like skips. I'm like, how the hell is it been 6 months?
It's so hard because like that was a big joke from a lot of my friends. Was like, oh, now that you got it, all that stuff you said about dry protection and all that is going to go out the door. And it's like, I don't. There's definitely some truth to that, but 525 kills. If you average that out to 10 to 12 minutes per run, that's a 100-hour grind.
Ooh.
So yeah, 100 hours for this item. I still I don't know, the more I've thought about it, I really think that my favorite version of dry protection specifically for CG would be so let's see, it's 1 in 400, and the
can I pause you before? Oh, sorry, you're doing math. I probably shouldn't jump in.
No,
sorry,
go ahead.
I already did it though. Let's explain, like, what is dry protection? Because there's probably people who maybe play this game but don't. Anyway, I don't know. Just explain dry protection.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, like, the idea being that, like, if you do 1,000 CG, your 1,000th KC is the exact same chance of getting the item as your very first one, right? Like, that's how RNG works. It's the same every time. Every time you kill a boss, it's like taking a beach ball sized die that has 1,000 sides, well, 400 for the enhanced, and rolling it, and it's just random every time. So the idea,
but no one, I don't think anyone thinks like that. We all think that like when you get to the KC, it now owes you this, and every time
Exactly.
over the kill count amount, you're like the boss is in debt to you, like they owe this item.
Right,
I guess
right.
that's what the dry protection is trying to like actually make it feel like the boss literally does owe you this item.
Yeah, and so the common like misconception with dry protection is like it increases your rate like when you hit drop rate, like you're saying. But dry protection, like what's been proposed, is really only for more like me at Moons, where I was 10 times dry. You know, a lot of the projections are like it gives you a slight increase at like 4 times dry, you know, and so it's something that would be only for the 1 percentile of people that go, you know, like part of the worst thing for your mental health when you're going for the enhanced is to go on RuneScape Reddit, because like somebody will post how dry they are and then everybody's just sounding off in the comments about how dry they are. And, you know, you're seeing a
or
bunch
how
of
spoon they were. That's
yeah. You'll see somebody that's at 2000 without it. And you'll see somebody that got it, you know, at 5 kills of normal gauntlet on mobile. But, you know, so anyways, it's a hot topic issue, but I think what would be more interesting for CG would be as simple as you can make your BOFA with 1 enhanced armor seed or enhanced weapon seed, or 8 of the normal weapon seeds, because 8, it's 1 in 50. So that would be double. You'd have to go to double the rate. If you're on perfectly on rate for them, it'd be, oh man, I think my math is breaking down. Hold on. That'd be 16. Okay, so you need 16 of them, right? To get to 800 KC if it's 1 in 50. So if you could exchange 16 of the weapon seeds for an enhanced, which I think thematically makes sense because, you know, it's a weapon seed versus an enhanced one. So maybe you could enhance it with 16 of them. But I think that would be a much more interesting way of like, oh, you got spooned on these, or you got these along the way. Now you can trade them in. But not to turn that into the entire episode. It's just something I was thinking about dry protection.
They do experiment with different like dry protection techniques, because we have things where like, I mean, this is extreme. I think this is awful. This is like, may as well not even be a thing. But if you're going for a pet, the wood cutting pet, the rate gets like 10 times or something when you get 200 million experience. So like, that's one way they've done it, where you go dry enough and then the rates just go up for you. But then they've done it other ways where like, okay, what if instead of having 1 item that's really rare to get, what if you have to get 3 items that are less rare to get? So you're a little bit more it's a bit more consistent with the kill counts. We see that with like Abyssal. We see that a lot actually, like Abyssal Sire, that the Araxite, Noxious Halberd, so many things. You need like 4 different items or 3 different items to put together. It's always 3. But the one that, and we're going to get into it, but the one that people are really, really don't like is the one where you have to get 3 items, but 2 of them are invisible. And that's at the Desert Treasure 2 bosses. People don't like that one. So,
yep.
So yeah, they've tried out a few different ways, and I don't know. Who knows? Favorite? I mean, I guess they clearly do. It's the 3 items to create 1 big item. That's usually their favorite, but
yeah. And I think the point I'm trying to make, I think, is that I really like the like in-universe dry protection as opposed to just switching up the rates. Which also switching up the rates is something that, so like if somebody just quit the game at 2000 Gauntlet KC because they didn't get the item, then switching up the drop rate would mean they still have to go back. But if they added something in like, oh, you can trade in, 16 normal weapon seeds, which is, I mean, to be fair, I don't know. I'm not like dying on this hill, to be very clear, but it's like I only got 7 of them in 525 KC. So it's not like, this is not like an easy skate proposal. This is still dry protection for people who go super dry or get super duper spooned on weapon seeds for some reason, which is, it's still the same as if you got spooned on the enhanced, but it helps even out the curve of the people who go super dry. But I don't want to go down that tangent, because I want to focus on how happy I am that I got mime, and I immediately corrupted it. I colored everything. I went with the red armor and the white bow. I'm gonna call it White Lightning.
Decent.
And I went straight. I took it straight to Zulrah. So my tentative game plan for my iron now is I want to get the blowpipe and the Serp helm from Zulrah, and I want to take that to the only place that the Serp helm is still actually relevant, which is Commander Ziliana, because the strategy there is if you have the blowpipe and the Serp helm equipped, it's 100% chance of venoming. So if you take it to Ziliana, you hit each of her 3 minions one time, and that will make them venomed, and then you pull out your Bofa and you do the whole Commander Ziliana kill, and by that time all of the minions are almost completely dead already. So yeah, it's very useful there. So, and obviously blowpipe and stuff is very useful in all different parts of the game. So I want to get Zulrah for the Serp and the blowpipe, and then I want to go to Ziliana for the ACB, and then I want to take that to Phantom Muspa, and maybe, I don't know if I want to stay until I get a Venator bow, but definitely want to go there. But I did yesterday, so I sent probably like 100 Zulrah, and I also did go to Muspa and did about 40 of those. And it's crazy. I mean, one of our friends was asking like, oh, how did it feel? And it's like, well, I had a Bofa for a long time on my main, so I didn't have it wasn't blowing my mind. But what I did feel was the difference of like moving into that next tier of bosses. So like Phantom Muspa, I got 11 Ranar seeds in one drop, and like that's so good.
Yeah, you've like opened up a whole new tier of loot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Bosses.
And these are, Zulrah and Muspa are 2 of what I've called the blue collar bosses. And those are the ones that you just, every kill, you're going to get something either alchable or, just some kind of pretty good loot every single time, as opposed to going for these big items. So I'm excited. I want to go for a Venator bow from Muspa because it's a cool item, A. B, because it's an item I've never had on my main, and it's been really cool that I'm getting to the point in my iron where I'm going to be getting items that I've never had on my main. And then the last one is, just all of the super useful stuff to get along the way. It's just really exciting. So I got my Bofa, and the rest of the game is open to me now. Stuff's been catching me off guard, like things I've been like, I've had all these ideas of things I want to do, and then it's like, oh, I can do that too. Like somebody for the bingo was wanting to run chambers last night, and it was like, oh yeah, I can do that too. And I was like, I can finally run chambers. And then they said, you only use Bofa for the last phase of Olm. Oh, I thought I used it the whole time, but okay. Yeah. But it's a super useful item, and I'm so happy to be done with it and have it. And I will be using it pretty much 100% of the time I'm playing this game for a while.
You're going to get your money's worth out of it. That's good.
Yeah. But I know that you also have been on a journey.
Yeah, it's been I guess I just kind of put it in my head that I wanted to kill Tormented Demons. So I had a whole plan of like level up my thieving to level 72, get Wild Gothic Sleeps finished, get my Arc Light, which means I need to get my attack. So I had all these little things I had to do before bingo, because I just wanted to kill Tormented Demons, just because it feels like that's what I need to kill to get my next, kind of like you with the Bofa. I'm like a few shelves down. If we're looking at like a bookcase, I'm a few down from you. So I figured like the Synapse would help me, because you get the Synapse from it, and it can, which is, by the way, I kind of love this. It's like a pick your combat style. You get the Synapse, and then Jagex is like, all right, what's it gonna be? Are you a melee or ranger or a major? I was gonna make that sound cooler, but anyways, you get to kind of choose like, pick your starting Pokemon, except you're like midway through the game, maybe even more. So I like that idea, but I really wanted the Burning Claws or the Bone Claws, whatever they're called now, just because I hope they go really well with my Eclipse Moon set. I have no idea if they will. I have a feeling that I'm going to get them, and it's not gonna work super well. But anyways, we'll cross the bridge when we get there. So yeah, I had this whole journey of things I had to do, and I did it before bingo, which was great. Shout out to Wild Gothic Sleeps, because that quest is actually way more fun when I had to do it on my iron versus my main, because I actually had to learn how the fights went and what I was supposed to do. I wasn't able to just brute force stuff. So you have to. I remember we talked about this, and I think we both might have brute forced it or something. But there's that magic fight you have to do with Surok halfway through the quest, and you have to use magic on them, and you can't use powered staff, so you have to use like actual spells. But then he does attacks, and then you have to use different spells against him, which I thought were pretty cool. So like he throws a bomb at you, and you have to use telegrab to pick it up, and then you have to alch it before it blows up. I thought that was sick.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I said that I think that boss fight's harder than the actual boss fight, like the ending boss fight. There's a lot going on there, and it was really unique in the mechanics.
And I probably would have disagreed with you if I hadn't done the quest on my iron, because I wasn't able to beat that last elemental boss on my main. But then doing it on my iron, I realized, and this is my friggin' problem with Jagex. They're like super inconsistent. Like there's so the way that fight works is just he changes forms, and whatever form he changes into is what you have to pray against. So it's like a melee, range, and mage form. But the confusing part is when he changes into his melee form, he still does an attack where he shoots something, and like you think you want to swap to like major range because it's a projectile, but no, it's still a melee attack apparently. And I'm gonna blame that as the reason as why I was getting killed so much on my main, because the guide hadn't been finished at that point. So I was able to go back on the wiki and read exactly what I'm supposed to do. So that's annoying, but I was able to beat that elemental boss on my iron after like the second or third try. Whereas like, so agreeing with you now, that mage boss took me like 10 kills. It was friggin' tough, but good fun. Got to Tormented Demons, and yeah, they're really cool. They're so much fun. I stayed up late on Friday night because it's bingo opening night. I stay up until 3 a.m. That's like way past my 10 p.m. bedtime. I never stay up that late, and that was cool. And yeah, Tormented Demons are so much fun. They're like demonic gorillas, but every now and then you get to pull out a dragon two-hander and just hit a 70. That's all. I think that's all you need to do for me to really enjoy a fight, is let me hit a really high number every now and then and feel like a boss. And I'm going to fall in love with that boss or that monster, because I hate demonic gorillas, but I friggin' love Tormented Demons.
Same.
Makes me want to go to demonic gorillas on my iron, see if I'm missing anything. So yeah, they're great fun.
Tormented Demons make you dislike demonic gorillas even more, because you're like, oh, this is like everything that's better about even like the intricate mechanics and the overall fight. Everything is like, they should have just replaced demonic gorillas with Tormented Demons because it's so much better.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's. Hopefully I'm disagreeing with you when I get to demonic gorillas, because I really don't like them on my main. So, but now I need the ballista for the Tormented Demons. So yeah, and yeah, Araxor and Tormented Demons. Oh, cool. Well, there's 2 reasons to get it, so that's pretty fun. And then I was able to get a synapse late last night actually. It's probably like 1 a.m. And yeah, my heart dropped. My heart dropped twice because I think I thought I screwed up the picture for bingo, so I thought I lost the tile, which I think would have been a blessing and a curse in the sense that like I'm sad I don't have to kill them anymore for bingo. I was really enjoying that. But yeah, now I have this synapse, and I can make it into 3 weapons. And I'm really conflicted on what I should do, because, oh my god, they're all so cool. And by the way, this is one thing I love about it, is like, and it's also what I love about the stage my iron's at, is like I can't just like get a weapon and use it. No matter what thing I make, I have to train crafting, smithing, or fletching. So if I make the sword, it's smithing, the bow is fletching, and the staff is crafting. So that's kind of like how it's all different. But yeah, I have no idea which one to get. Well, I think you were talking about this last night. You weren't sure what item to get. We need to have an intervention, because there's only one right answer, and I gotta lead you on the correct path here. And I know which one it is. I when I was trying to debate between them, I was unsure, and then I was kind of leaning towards one, but then I went on the wiki, and then I was reading them, and then it sold me, and then I was like, the one I'm choosing is right. Has to be. So there's the Ember Light, which is the upgrade from the Arc Light. So when I first look at that, it really gives me like Charmander vibes. If we could like connect each one to a starting Pokemon, It's just like consistent, does a lot of damage. I feel like you can get the most use out of it, and it's just like all on the offensive, which sounds great. I can kill them for abyssal demons. I can use them for blood velds. There's no charges involved. Looks kind of cool, which is great. And then there's the scorching bow, which I think is like your Squirtle. It's still pretty good, not as offensively damaged. It just doesn't feel that way. It just feels like more of a Squirtle thing, but that thing would be great because maybe Krilled Satsaroth, I can do some running around and with that, and that's my problem. That feels like the only thing that stands out as what I could kill with it is Krill. But what I like about it is I don't want to get the CG. I don't want to go to CG ever. I don't want to get the Bofa. I'm just not even going to think about it until I might not ever think about it, but it just doesn't sound fun. I think I went to the RuneScape subreddit too many times and watched people complain about it. Yeah,
I probably haven't helped with that at all either.
You know, it's just you don't hear too many people being like, "Oh, I love it." Everyone calls it the prison, so that doesn't quite help. So getting if I were to get every other ranged weapon, that might mitigate how bad I feel because I don't have the Bofa. Because it's like, okay, I don't have the Bofa, but I've got everything else. I'll just use something else. So that's where I look at the range. That's my Squirtle. And then the staff is looking at like Bulbasaur. It's a little bit more flexible. It's got its offensive damages, but then it does a bunch of other kooky stuff where it connects you to the Arceus spellbook, and then you get all these bonuses and buffs there. You know, it has some attacks that like might not directly do damage, but it's like a solid leech seed where you can really set it in and it does some damage over time. So yeah, those are the three that I'm looking at. What Pokemon did you always go with?
I was
one that you were.
I was a Yu-Gi-Oh kid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we couldn't do Pokemon as kids because it has evolution in it.
No way, really?
Yep.
But like, I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh is way darker.
Oh, it is, yeah. But it didn't make the headlines of like the homeschool newspaper, so it didn't get it didn't get banned. But yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh is all about like actual Egyptian gods and like summoning them, and people are like losing their eternal soul. And Pokemon is like, they call it evolution when they go from one to the next thing. But yeah, we weren't allowed to do Pokemon. But as far as Yu-Gi-Oh goes, I don't know how that translates.
Yeah, because I would say there's like Dark Magician, Blue Eyes White Dragon,
Okay.
maybe was it Red Eyes Black Dragon, but that doesn't really count because Blue Eye is like, come on, that guy's so much stronger than the other two.
Right.
Anywho,
Yeah, we won't go down that path.
so I've always been a Bulbasaur kid growing up, and that staff, it wasn't my first pick. But as I've thought about it, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, there's no way I don't pick the staff, right? There's no way. There's no reality where I pick one of the other two. It's the staff that's first. Has to be. Right?
No, there's every reason why it shouldn't be this staff. Okay, I'm gonna try to. I have to be gentle about this because I've gotten to know you pretty well as we've been recording this podcast, and I know that if I tell you you're not allowed to get the staff, you're gonna do the staff just to spite me, because you don't like being told what to do, which is fair. So let's break it down this way. The first question is, which of the items will be most useful to get your next synapse? Because you already have, so Emberlight is kind of out just because you already have the Arclight, so it's just an upgrade to something that you have. And then the staff is very good there, but you are also still a mid-game Iron Man, and the staff is going to blow through your runes, and it's also going to require a lot more different items for your gear switch.
Yeah, and I think I am missing I've got the Eclipse, which is great for range. It's great for melee, not great for mage. And I don't have the Blue Moon stuff yet. So, that's tough. See, I go between all three of them because I think the sword, I'd probably use it more. The bow, I have a lot of anxiety about wasting all my Addle darts one day. So the bow does help me there. Takes off that pressure. But let me just read this Purging Staff. Okay. First off, they start off right away to say has the highest magic attack in the game, higher than Tumikin Shadow. That's like a $1.5 billion weapon, GP. This is not. It's like 50 mil, way small, but you're gonna tell me it has better attack damage? Whew, that sounds cool. But what I think is really neat is all the things it does with Arceus Spellbook. And part of it is I don't know the Arceus Spellbook too well, so this will allow me to get acquainted with the Spellbook a little bit. So you're allowed to auto cast Demon Bane spells, so you don't have to just click every time. Auto cast like you should. That's fine. But the staff will double the bonuses. So if it's doing a lot of damage now, it's going to do maybe not double the damage, but double the bonus. On top of that, there's a spell called Mark of Darkness, which I think applies a bunch of buffs to you. So it makes your Demon Bane spells, it will then entangle them so they can't move. No, I'm sorry, I'm lying. They're called grasp spells. So your grasp spells will entangle them so they can't move for double the duration. Your corruption that you apply will happen twice as often, so I think that drains their prayer, which I guess is kind of useless. But PvP, okay, well, we can ignore that part. But Demon Bane spells will have 25% damage and 25% accuracy. So all that's getting doubled because of the Mark of Darkness. So we're like talking about quadrupling, maybe octupling the Demon Bane effectiveness of the staff. And then you're like, wow, that is amazing. Of course you're gonna pick that one. But we're not even finished yet, because then they have okay, check this spell out. This special attack. Scatter Ashes. You will use your best Demon Bane spell. And if the target is a demonic creature and then they die from the attack, it will refund all the special energy back. And your next attack can be done 3 ticks faster. What? So you're telling me if you lined up a bunch of demonic people, you just go bam, 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 like a machine gun and just mow them down with the special attack? Like I read that and I'm like, there's, whew. And then that's like 4 paragraphs worth of stuff. Now we go to the Scorching Bow. Yeah, it's a little bit. It's got a burning special attack. Oh shit! It's got a burning Trey. It's got a burning special attack. Scorching Shackles. Yeah, Trey. It's got a burning special attack. So scorching Shackles has 30% accuracy. It binds the demon for 20 seconds and it deals 1 burning damage in the process. It deals an additional 1 burning damage every 4 ticks for a total of 5 burning damage. Okay, we knew that. Against non-demonic creatures, it won't work. Ooh, okay, Trey, I gotta think about this. I didn't realize that the bow had a special attack. This is kind of cool.
There is an objectively right answer, but at this point, hearing you talk about the staff, you're so excited, and I feel like it's like telling a kid that Santa isn't real. Like I don't want to. I want you to actually. I'm jealous of you. Like you're just someone who just plays the game and does what sounds the coolest and the most fun, and not what's the most efficient. Because I can break down for you mathematically why one is the other, but I kind of want you to make the staff now because you sound so excited about it.
I got to think about it though, because the bow with the special attack might be a bit of a game changer. I got to think on this one, because the problem is I have all these ideas of things like a test with the staff, but I already know how it's gonna go because the same shit happened with the Eclipse set. I get so excited. I have all these ideas in my head. I go to use it, and Jackis is like, no, it would be too powerful if it worked the way you would expect it to work. So we're going to make it shit, and it's going to miss all the time, by the way. You're going to miss all the time. So you're going to be like, are you fucking kidding me? I spent hours grinding out this Eclipse Moon set, and now, first off, it's hard to get burning stacks, and then when I do get burning stacks, my special attack just misses and hits 0. Why did I even chance it? See, that's the problem. That's what happens. I start thinking, could I go to Bandos with the purging staff? Could I kind of could I fight General Gardor with...
Well, you'd want to be on Ancients, though.
Yeah, that's the problem. Could I use the grasping spell to freeze him and run? But it's not that long.
I just want to be very clear that objectively speaking, meta-wise, the Scorching Bow is the one you should get. But that's okay to not follow... Like we always try to say, it's okay to not follow the meta. It's okay to do it sounds fun. So I can't... I really don't even want to break down why the Scorching Bow is better, but it definitely is.
Well, the Scorching Bow seems like it would help I don't know. I got to think on this one. That's tough. That's real tough because the fact that when you kill something with the staff and it refunds that special energy you used, so you could use it again and even faster the next time.
Hey,
that's tough.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Okay, I'm gonna think on this
I'll
one.
be interested to see what you go with. And I mean, I would give you my purging staff if I could, because it has been collecting dust. I've never used it. The only time you are right about it has the highest accuracy of any weapon in the game, as far as just a flat accuracy bonus, not accounting for the Tunic and Shadows effect. But I did use it when I was learning to freeze in Tob, because in Tob you need a very specific like accuracy to never splash on the crabs. And right. I didn't have like an occult. So early on I used it because I did need that super high accuracy. And that's the only time I've shaken the dust off of it. But it has, and my scorching bow is like worn down to the nub because I've used it so much. But like I said, I could go on for a long time about why the scorching bow is better, but I just don't want to like knock the ice cream cone out of your hand, you know? You seem so excited.
But like, what's worse, that happening or then I get it and then the ice cream tastes like shit? You know what I mean? I don't know.
You de-iron so you can buy it. Actually, you can revert it, can't you?
Yeah, you would just lose. Yeah, I would just lose a battle staff and an iron bar. So it's actually not even that bad.
Is it really just that?
It's
from
not
reverting it? Oh, that's wow.
Yeah, not too bad. Trey, before we get into our little boss showdown, we had someone reach out like a week or two ago about a product they kind of wanted us to try and talk about on the podcast. And it kind of worked out. I was going to say it kind of worked out well, the timing, because it was like right before bingo. But I'm going to say it actually, in a way, it didn't work out because I went through all mine before bingo started. But these people at Magic Mind, they're like I guess like a juicing company, and they gave us a bunch of these drinks to try, and they're like these, well, they say it's not a replacement for coffee, but they're almost like these like energy shots of some sorts, and they're like all organic. It's supposed to be like super healthy and stuff. If you're like into juicing, then like, or like my wife was into juicing at one point, so this is like right up her alley. She's like, oh my god, these are so cute, and the bottles are cute. And I had a chance to try some of these stuff and I actually really loved them. So I ended up drinking them every single day leading up to bingo. And then bingo started and I didn't have any anymore, but they were great. They gave me like a little boost of energy every time when I would have one in the middle of the day. I would take it like right after lunchtime. When I was working, I would get really groggy, and I don't know, I really liked them. They gave me a nice little jolt of energy. Trey, you had one before the show. Are you feeling more focused? Are you feeling more clear?
When you were going on and on about that purging staff, I was just hyper focused on how wrong you were. No, you know, I work construction, and it's very common in construction for, you know, everybody to start their morning off with pre-workout that they started selling just as a normal energy drink. And you get like all these different like beta alanine in there, which is like stuff that's meant to drink and then do a very intense physical workout. And these guys are just drinking it and doing some construction work. It's so like prevalent and stuff. So I think, you know, a lot of people are looking for something a little more natural and a little less like liquid meth.
Yeah, that's a good point. I sometimes default to the energy drinks, and honestly, I don't even know if it's making me feel better, because I feel tired like an hour afterwards. But funny enough, so one thing that they told us to do is like, can you try to tell a story of when you had to take this? And I was like, well, I'm like, how am I going to do that? I'm just drinking and playing RuneScape. But I had one night when my cat, I talked about this on the podcast a long time ago. My cat is a friggin' mess. It's a disaster. He's a disaster. He gets pea crystals, and we tried so much stuff. But we have to be careful of his diet, because he gets constipated and he gets backed up, and then he doesn't poop, and then we got to take him to the hospital. But anyways, he wasn't peeing, and he was in a lot of distress, and it was actually it was nighttime, so we had to bring him to the ER to get the crystals removed. And it was pretty late, and it was like a work night too, and I don't stay up late at all. Like when I mentioned earlier, I stay up until like 10 p.m. is like my bedtime, but it was already like 11 o'clock when I had to go to the hospital. Anyways, my point is I had to go home, and then I had to stay up until like 4 a.m. to go pick up my cat. And like I was so tired, but I just like drank one of these at like in the middle of the night, and like it made me feel great. Like it really like gave me a nice boost. But I didn't feel, I don't know. Sometimes I've taken coffee like in the middle of the night when I need to stay up, and you feel like kind of off, like kind of anxious and stuff. But yeah, I didn't feel it with this way, so like it felt pretty good. Anyways, I ran out and I want some more, so go out and support these guys. Maybe they'll send me a bit more too to try out. You can go to magicmind.com/wildernesspod, and you can use the code wilderness20 to get 48% off your first subscription or 20% off for your first one-time purchase. And they have like a full 100% refund guarantee kind of thing for 100 days after buying it. So if you want to try them and you're like, I'm not into it, you can get it back. So thank you to the Magic Mind people for reaching out. And honestly, it's when they emailed, it sounded like one of them actually listened to the podcast, which was kind of cool. They like addressed us by name.
Yeah, and the only other place I've seen them mentioned as like a sponsor is one of the board game channels I watch. So it seems like they're kind of in tune with this kind of community, which is cool.
This is again not supposed to replace an energy drink or coffee. It's just supposed to be like a juice and a little shot of juice.
Yeah, one of the underrated things about this is a 2-ounce bottle. Normally people are getting like a 24-ounce monster or something. So, long gaming sessions, a lot less chance that you're going to have to pee. Underrated benefit.
That's true. That is true. Put those bottles away. Great stuff. Yeah, I mentioned before, my wife was into these juices. When we first got together, she made me drink these gut shots, and they were like just like fermented. It was like whatever, something fermented, and then the juice is what you drank. It was like disgusting. Oh my god, they were so gross. These are pretty good. So yeah, again, thanks to Magic Mind. That is magicmind.com/wildernesspod and coupon code wilderness20 to save some money.
We'll put it down in the description.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, and the reason we want to talk about it now is because bingo. This is like perfect for bingo, and I wish I took it. Trey, I'm jealous that you're able to utilize this for your bingo. I actually don't think it's very fair, but whatever.
Yeah, I think it also. I mean, I got the
you got your whole team. You got a package for your whole team, so you guys are going
So we'll put that on the ad. Is that my whole team won bingo? We all took one and immediately won.
And yeah. That's great. That's good. Okay. Anyways, let's take a break. Not take a break, but let's go to this section where we're going to talk about the bosses and stuff. Yeah. Sound effect is what I'm trying to say. Let's listen to the sound effect.
Bum, 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 bum.
Okay, we are back. Trey, today we are doing the PvM Smasher Pass, the bossing Smasher Pass challenge. Can we call it a challenge? I don't even know. But basically, we're gonna go through chronologically the bosses, and we're gonna do it by how, like, the date they were released. You know what? It's likely we're not gonna get through all the bosses today, so this might be a multi-part episode. So hopefully that's fine. There's like easily over 50 bosses. So yeah. So when I was going through this, I was trying to think of like what criteria, like Smasher Pass, you can just think of it as like a thumbs up, thumbs down. Like, do we approve or do we disapprove? Do we dislike overall? And I was trying to think of the criteria that I was going to like rate some of these bosses on. And I realized like I was kind of all over the place with inconsistencies, because like I wanted to rank it on like a bunch of different factors, like the vibe of the boss, and that might have to do with the lore, the setting, like the area that you fight the boss. It might have to do with the mechanics of the fight, might play into the vibe. But it also has to do like is it fun? Does it feel rewarding? Like is a loot cool? Because part of the fun is killing it and then seeing if it drops something fun and cool. So anyways, I'm kind of all over the place, but hopefully it's obvious enough what boss is a good boss or a bad boss, in my opinion. And I don't even like saying the word good or bad because that feels too black or white, but just like if I'm giving it the Dilz seal of approval or not. Trey, do you have any differing factors being played when it comes to like whether it gets the Trey's seal of approval or not?
Well, yeah, I was, you kind of pitched this idea of the Smasher Pass boss thing, and I thought that was a great idea. I mean, I was pushing to do it in the chronological order because I think it's really interesting to look at these bosses in context of when they were released, and kind of like it's so interesting as you go through how you can see Jagex's mindset at the time of release for a lot of these, and like what kind of ideas they were pushing, and like. So that's a big part of it for me, like in context of when it was released is a huge like aspect of how I think about these bosses.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like some of the earlier bosses, they might get a pass because they were on it. They were an early boss. Whereas if they were released today, you'd be like, no way in hell is it going to make the cut. I think that's fine. I think that makes sense because this game's been around for a while and the history of the boss. And I think your personal experience with the boss also matters. Yeah. So I think that's all good. Anything else that we want to give context to or talk about before we start off with our first boss?
No, I mean, I think we'll cover that when we get into him.
Awesome. I'm always surprised that this is the first boss because it doesn't really feel like it to me. But the first boss ever to be released was the King Black Dragon, which was released on September 24th, 2002. Yeah, I guess here, let me start off with my points. The things that I really liked about this boss is that I think it's a pretty cool first boss. The King Black Dragon, it's a king, got 3 heads, out in the middle of the wilderness. It's pretty cool. The boss itself feels very Dungeons and Dragons. It's a boss that can talk. We see that in one of the quests. I can't remember which one. So I think overall it's a pretty cool boss and it's very Dungeons and Dragons, which I like. Now the bad is it's kind of in the wilderness, which is annoying and kind of random today. Whereas back then, I think the world was smaller, so a lot more things were in the wilderness. And another bad note for me is the loot it sucks. It's like there's really not much there that's exciting to go for.
It's a pet hunt boss.
Yeah. So those are my thoughts on it. But Trey, let me hear it from your end.
Okay.
What do you think of the King Black Dragon?
So the King Black Dragon is, in my opinion, the biggest missed opportunity of a boss. And I say that fully aware of the context of this came out in 2002. So I'm not saying that at the time of release it was the biggest missed opportunity, but let me kind of hit you with something here. So this is a 3-headed dragon, right? You have one head shoots fire, one head shoots ice, and one head shoots poison, right?
Yeah, and by the way, the mechanics are very
simple.
The attacks do like little minor things, like you get poisoned by one of your stats drained by the
other.
Well,
it's kind of
you can ignore
I
them.
think another a subcategory of mechanics is like I'd call them prep bosses. Well, actually prep bosses would be something different, but what I'm saying is bosses that most of their mechanics are things that you like mitigate through the items and the prep that you do. And
right.
So with King Black Dragon, if you bring the proper anti-fire protection, you're good on that head. If you bring the proper like anti-poison, you're good on, so it's most of the work is done at the bank before you get to the boss so that you can just stand there and kill it.
Oh, most of the fight for this boss is done in the bank. I like that. Cool.
So anyways, okay. So we have one head that shoots fire, one head that shoots poison, and one head that shoots ice, right? So let me throw something out at you here. Imagine that you go into this boss fight and you're fighting this dragon, and as you're fighting this dragon, it starts shooting out poison at you, right? And you have to avoid the poison. And then maybe it freezes you, and you have to mitigate a freeze attack. But the whole time it's also shooting fire at you. So what other boss in the game does that sound like?
Forecast?
Exactly. So
nice. Cool.
So the reason why I think of this boss as the biggest missed opportunity is what I think is that everything the King Black Dragon should be is what is in Vorkath. It has a venom attack, it has an ice attack, and it has a fire attack, which makes a lot more sense coming from a 3-headed dragon as, a 1-headed zombie dragon. So, but that's not fair, because this boss came out in 2002. So what I think would have been amazing is you're doing Dragon Slayer 2, and they talk about in Dragon Slayer 2 how there's like this experiment going on, and you go and you find they've been experimenting on this dragon. It's a zombie dragon. Vorkath, great boss. We'll get to that later. But I'm imagine if you had done that and it was the zombie King Black Dragon, and it had all of these new mechanics, and the fight was exactly the same as Vorkath, except that when you do the venom, it's shooting from the poison head, and when it does the freeze attack, it comes from the freeze head. And that would have also allowed for a complete rework of the King Black Dragon, so that the one in the wilderness, the normal King Black Dragon, is still there. You can go kill it, and just as it is, nothing's changed. But there's also this updated, it could either be like the zombie the zombie King Dragon. I don't know what you'd call it, but it would be exactly the same as Vorkath, but it would drop, have you could get the King Black Dragon pet, but you could also get all of the great drops that come from Vorkath. So that's kind of my pitch on the King Black Dragon, because it is an iconic boss. It was the first in the game, so I don't want them to like rework it as, you know, in the way that like the Wilderness bosses, where the new one replaces the old one. But I do think if they added, and there's also, you know, I know RS3 has the Queen Black Dragon, so maybe someday they could add an, you know, I just think a cool way, and I'll probably say this for all of these first few bosses, it would be cool if they made an upgraded version that didn't replace the old one, because the old ones are so nostalgic, but still had a chance of potentially at least getting the pet, because most of these first ones, the only thing people care about is the pet. But yeah, that's every time I look at King Black Dragon, and it's funny you mentioned D&D, because I've tried to work the KBD into D&D, because once again, it's so interesting to have 3 heads, and they all shoot different things, and they have different mechanics associated with them that you have to work with.
Yeah, I like that idea. That's pretty neat. And you know what? I talk about the loot kind of sucks. You mentioned you kind of kill this boss for the pet, but on release, like, the loot obviously didn't suck. It actually brought out a new best in slot, which is the Dragon Medium helmet, which is, you know, not very good today. And you can get it so many other places. It's kind of like a common drop, but back then it was like a big deal. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And like the lore wise, I think it fits for what you're talking about too, in the sense, I'm pretty sure, I'm hoping not getting this mixed up, but I think it's like a mutated, like there's something mutated about the King Black Dragon, because it can speak English. Yeah. Which is not normal for most dragons in the game, but we know Dungeons and Dragons, that's quite normal. Anyhow. Yeah. And I will say another bonus point, the layer is cool. You got money everywhere and like jewels and gems. That's very Dungeons and Dragons. It's not even, dragons in RuneScape don't even do this really. In Dungeons and Dragons, they're all about hoarding gold and valuables and stuff and treasures. At least some of the dragons.
That said, the location of the lair is so annoying. Like, it's not a wilderness boss, but it's in the wilderness, like, to get there, but the actual lair isn't in the wilderness. It's such a, and so then you're left, then you have this thing where you're playing this game of like, I can take, like, I'll take more than like my 4 items for gear, because I just have to run there. And I think you can do some strategy where you have like an alt account attacking you with, like, obviously not trying to do any damage, so that, because it's in singles or something. And so the location is very weird. If I had to suggest a couple of, so obviously the Vorkath thing I was talking about, that would be like the huge rework. If I could go back in time, that's how I would do it. But I think as far as if we wanted to update this boss to make it like good to go to, a couple small things, I would say either move the layer or have a teleport directly into the layer, so you don't have to be in the wilderness. And another really common suggestion that's been put out there for King Black Dragon is to have it drop 1 superior dragon bone. So it's not 2 drops every time, like with Vorkath, but you're getting half of it, but it's still passive money that actually would, I mean, just that alone would make every kill much more valuable. And then, I don't know, you can, I think it would be cool if the King Black Dragon was best, like the meta for the Visage. It's up there. Oh yeah, it's definitely up there, but it would be cool if it's like, oh, I only want the Visage, so I'm going to camp King Black Dragon for it because that's my best rate. Where right now it's kind of interspersed in there. I don't know what the actual meta is for that specifically, but those are my just small suggestions.
The wildy part definitely plays a weirder dynamic. Part of it I think is kind of cool, but it's definitely like more annoying and tedious than anything else, where like I do kind of like the idea where you can't just bring your best in slots. You need to kind of balance like damage on like risk and reward. So, you know, you might bring your dragon boots with you because you're like, well, they're kind of easy to get, but I'm not going to risk these other items. But yeah, overall they're pretty cool. I have nothing more to add. I think, is there anything you wanted to add? And if not, what's the Trey's verdict?
No, yeah, I think once again, September 24th, 2002, I think for what it is, it's, you know, it's absolutely, it's potentially the most iconic thing in all of RuneScape, the 3-headed dragon, something is ingrained in my head from the time I was a kid. And so I think this one, more than anything, will get the Smash verdict just entirely based on the nostalgia factor and how iconic it is.
Ooh. That's good. That almost convinced me to change my answer, but unfortunately, this one is a pass for me because even though it is like 23 years old at this point, it feels like it should be more iconic, but it's just not for some reason, to me at least. Like, King Black Dragon is iconic, but like the next boss feels way more iconic to me. So the next boss comes out 2 years later, almost on the dot. 2004, September 7th, is the Calphite Queen. They're loving the king and queen thing going on here. But these are the notes that I have. So in the good category, the notes that give it bonus points. It's a cool layer, I guess. Like, I like how, again, very Dungeons and Dragons, and I think we're going to see a theme there. But yeah, it's an actual dungeon you got to run through before you get to the Calphite Queen. So I think that's kind of cool. I prefer that over its like what we have now, where you kind of are it feels more like an arena, whereas this feels like a dungeon and a layer. I like that there's two forms. That's like kind of cool and like, I guess, pretty unique for the second boss that ever came out. And then, of course, it drops the new best in slot at the time, which was the Dragon Chain Body, which feels way... I don't know, that was the thing. The Dragon Medium Helmet, I guess, never felt like the thing, but the Dragon Chain definitely felt like the thing for me. And if I quickly can go through my bad points, I think in terms of like mechanics and how the boss is made, it's a pretty terrible second boss. It just does so much damage. There's like there's nothing you can do about it. You're just gonna eat so many 30s, and there's just nothing you can do except for bring more people and hope they get hit. The loot outside of the Dragon Chain, like, there's nothing. They've even buffed it today, and it still sucks. And this kind of ties into the first point, but the mechanics, there are virtually no mechanics. So so overall, I think it's like cool, but it just felt like it is gonna hit really hard compared to the King Black Dragon. That's the main difference. But Trey, let's hear what you think.
I hate this boss, first off. It's hard not to. I mean, but once again, in the context of when it was released, which I'm very surprised looking at what our notes are here. This came out 2 years after it. So that's 2 years of having, kind of one boss in the game. I didn't realize they were that far apart.
Mm-hmm.
But
it is long. Holy.
But yeah, so, at the time of this release of this boss, the concept of like a tick in this game was like a twinkle in Wooks' eye still, right? You know what I mean? So they didn't have much to work with, and they didn't know what people are going to do. So the idea is just, I attack this boss attacks me, and it's a fight to the death. And the only way to mitigate that is to have it hit super high through prayer, or to have it hitting you with different attack styles that are unpredictable. Like that's what we were working with in 2004. So it is a relic of its time, but the problem and the biggest difference between Calphite Queen and King Black Dragon is you have to grind Calphite Queen on any account, because you need the head for the Elite Desert Diary, which you don't have to, but it does have an item that is very useful for your account. So then it gets moved into a different category, right? Because I can say smash on the King Black Dragon, it's cute to look at, and I don't have to deal with it because it's like a pet hunt item. But the Calphite Queen is in, and it's a untradeable drop. So for a main or an iron, if you want the Elite Desert Diary, which is a very good thing to get, you have to do Calphite Queen for a 1 in 128 drop. So all that to say, I'm going to judge this one much more harshly than the King Black Dragon, because you actually have to do it. So as far as the fight itself goes, I mean, yeah, it's just a tank that just hits you through prayer constantly. Sorry, I keep saying hits you through prayer. I guess I should say hits you even though you're praying, because it's the damage you're taking is from, it does hit you through prayer, but also a lot of it is from different attack styles.
Mm-hmm.
But, as far as, taking a step back from all of that, I think, yeah, the giant insect queen is a really cool thing. I think all of the I wish the minions played an actual part in the fight as opposed to just kind of standing there and attacking you. It would be kind of cool if maybe there was like if you're getting into the category of a complete rework, it would be kind of cool if maybe it summoned like maybe one, like once you get down 30% or down to 70% health, maybe it summons a bunch of small minions you have to kill, and then at 50% it summons 2 or like 3 medium-sized minions, and then at 25% health it summons 2 big minions or something like that, where it starts adding complications to the fight. But this is once again 2004. But it seems like.
And can we stop for a second? We struggle today to kill it. Imagine back then when your best weapon is like a dragon scimitar for the range phase, and then you need to switch to crossbows weren't a thing back then. So magic short bow with arrows, I guess, is what you would kill it.
What?
I don't even know.
Yeah, and I don't know if the concept of soloing it was a thing back then, which is probably the biggest difference.
There's no way.
I don't know.
Yeah,
and because nowadays you're doing a bunch of defense reduction specs, and you have the blue Karis that will hit through. You can hit over 100 on it, and
and you can have I would sang staff sometimes just to get my health back for the second phase. There's a lot you can do.
There's also shadow only method now, so people can ignore. Once again, the shadow, you just ignore all of the mechanics and shoot the boss. But I do think speaking specifically from the mechanical side of it, I do think that there's some interesting things at play here, right? This is the first boss, and still one of pretty few bosses that actually prey against you, forcing you to do a certain attack style, unless you're using their shadow, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But so that was probably a crazy concept at the time. This is a boss that preys against you, and it also has special prayers that it's protecting against two different things, so it's forcing you to do one attack style. And as far as the concept of using bosses to learn PvM mechanics, I think Calfight Queen, you learn very quickly that you need to step under it if you need to eat, or even if you have a slow attack weapon. So it's kind of it's good for learning that, is that stepping under to buy yourself some time from the boss's attacks, which is really good. It's a concept you're going to use a lot later in PvM, which to be fair, I'd say don't go to this boss until later in PvM. But, and another thing, going, kind of talking about the drops, is this boss has dry protection. There's a 1 in 128.
Oh, for the head.
1 in 128 for the Calfight head, 1 in 256. So double for the tattered head, which you can turn into the head, but it's still a different item. And that's fantastic. Nobody will complain about that, because nobody wants to go to 1000 KC without getting that stupid head, which, okay. The absolute dumbest thing about the Calfight Queen, the worst thing, I can't believe anybody, I don't know. This is the dumbest thing ever. The Calfight Queen has a shortcut that cuts down 10 seconds of running on every kill, that is only unlocked after the Elite Desert Diary, which requires all of those Calfight Queen kills, and for the majority of players is where they're going to stop killing it. So you unlock the agility shortcut after you're done grinding the boss. I think that should have been in the hard tier, which requires 1 Calfight Queen kill. So you still have to go the long way at least once, and then you unlock the agility shortcut. That is wild, but I'm sure that was something where they didn't want to, kind of the easy scape of it all. So
yeah, that is weird. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just Jagex things.
So anyways,
and what's crazy is when I played back in the day, the meta to kill it was Varix, because Varix has a chance at hitting through prayer. So everyone would just use full Varix. That was the way he killed it. But Barrows isn't even out yet. So when it's released, I'm still thinking about the first year that there's anyways, it's wild. Yeah. What's your verdict, Trey?
So are we
you giving it the smash?
It's hard to say, because if we're going based on if I want to, I think smash or pass needs to be very ambiguous as to for each boss. So I'm going to say pass on Calfight Queen. I want the king, not the queen.
Cool. Sorry, my kid's banging upstairs. I don't know what he's doing. Anyways, should be okay. Sorry for the banging. Sorry, did you give it a smash or a pass? I missed that. I got distracted.
Sorry for the banging. It feels a little different when we're doing smash or pass. I'm gonna go. I'm passing on this one.
Passing. Okay, that which makes sense. And for giving my points, reading my notes, it definitely feels like I should be doing the same, passing. But so this is what I'm saying. My rules make no sense. I got a dragon chain once when I was really young, and that was awesome. So it's gonna get a pass just for that alone. Otherwise, it probably would have got it's getting a smash just for that alone, or otherwise would have got a pass. But to me, it feels way more iconic than King Black Dragon. But I think it's just because people just cared way more about killing the Calfight Queen when I was playing when I was a kid than they did the King Black Dragon. All right, let's get to the fun one. The third boss came out on May 9th, 2005. So like what, 6 months or so after Calfight Queen. And this boss it's not even a boss. It's 6 demi-bosses. It's the Barrows brothers, which is, by the way, when I was doing this list, it kind of like, there's no, like, it came out, it was the 3rd PvM content that released. No way. That's like kind of crazy. Like, talk about a step up in terms of game design. So here are my notes. I think the core format of it is unique and cool, and given that it's a 3rd boss, they could have easily stuck to like what they were doing before, but they didn't. They changed it up. So you have 6 little bosses that you have to kill first instead of 1 boss like you do with Calfight Queen. I love the vibe. You're having to dig into crypts and like go through a sarcophagus and then go through the actual crypt. I should call this part the crypt, but like you go into like the catacombs or whatever, the part that's underground, you gotta traverse that, and then you get to the final chest. Like that whole journey is cool, and again, like very Dungeons and Dragons. I love that, and I love like the lore. These are dead warriors who fought a war. They were Saradomin knights that, I forget what happened, but they're dead now, and you're like going through their corpses and stuff, but it's pretty neat. And then the loot is awesome. Today, the loot I still think is cool. Like the gear is like top notch. I love the set effects, and some of the gear is great even without the set effects. That's fun. My negatives is the actual fight mechanics is like kind of non-existent, which shouldn't really be a negative given that the 2 other bosses also didn't really have mechanics, but the mechanics are just whatever the set effects do. And the other thing I don't like is that like not all the gear is created equally. Some of the gear just is like garbage, and I wish every effect had some sort of use. Like Torags reduces your run energy when it hits you. That actually makes more sense than, say, I think Carol's lowers your agility when it hits you. Like that is very not as good. And then you have Darox and Guthans that heals you. Darox does a lot of damage. Those are my notes. Trey, let's hear it. What are your thoughts on Barrows? The Barrows brothers.
I've never liked Barrows.
It's like not even a boss. It's like they call it a mini game. But anyways, we're including it in here because it kills stuff.
Yeah, I've never had the like nostalgia for this boss. I've never like, I don't know. I've never liked this boss. But personal feelings aside, I do think it's a really cool idea of these 6 brothers. And this is actually another boss I tried to work into my D&D campaign.
I want to hear more. We'll do an episode on D&D one day because I want to hear more about this. But anyways, let's go.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. You go down, they have different attack styles. Once again, you know, a great common theme here. You can just shadow all of them. But, you know, it's actually really cool these days with the elemental weaknesses. You can actually air spell all of them. And that was how I did
That's
like, all of
something I
them.
forgot about on my iron.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see all these people air spelling and you're like, I'm out here with a Slayer dart. And they're like, look at this idiot. It's friggin' boomer.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the kind of layout of the fight is really cool until you get down into the crypts, and then it kind of really slogs down there. I can't imagine doing Barrows before all of the quality of life of, you know, like the puzzles and stuff. But I think that, you know, it's like you fight 6 bosses, which, you know, fight's a loose term. You just shoot them or stab them or whatever. But, you know, there's no unique mechanics or anything, but you fight them. And then you go down, and then you're like trying to kill enough of the minions down there to get the right like point percentage. And
yeah, that's
you're
weird.
trying to find the doors that are locked. And so, yeah, I think like the crypts part is a big slog that kind of takes away from what I think the boss, like the brothers part of it, could be really cool. But all that to say, you know, as far as what that looks like in more of a modern context, I think that the Gommel's Hilt reducing the prayer drain was huge. I think having a teleport to Barrows like that you can put in your house, that was huge for my iron. I rushed that. And the updates they've made to the armor. Oh, and before I talk about the armor, the addition of the Strange Old Lockpick from Howled Sepulchre.
Oh yeah, and the Amulet of the Damned and stuff.
Yeah, I want to make sure I explain the lockpick because I personally didn't know what it did. Yeah. On my main, I didn't even know what it did until like I had already finished, like had 99 agility. So you can get from Howled Sepulchre, you can get the Strange Old Lockpick, or you can just buy it on a main. And that will allow you to unlock any of the doors in the crypt at Barrows. So you can just go straight to the boss room, or exactly the path you want to, as opposed to running around and trying to find the unlocked doors and stuff. But actually, so speaking of things I don't know about Barrows, what does the Amulet of the Damned do there?
It like gives all the Barrows sets like an additional effect, so it makes some of them kind of more useful, I guess. But like it gives them all potential. Like what I like Carol's, you get the full set. If you do damage, you have a chance at reducing their agility, I'm pretty sure. It's something useless though. But you get the Amulet of the Damned, and then you have a chance at shooting 2 bolts at once, which is kind of cool. And then you have like Darox, where the lower health you have, the more damage you do. But being low health is sketchy, and the Amulet of the Damned makes it the lower health you have, the more defense. It gives you like additional defense protections.
Interesting.
So they all do something kind of cool like that, but you don't know what it is because it unfortunately it didn't do enough for the sets that anyone cares. You see people PKing with Carols sometimes, and that's kind of cool, but they just do it for fun, I think. I don't think it's very useful.
Yeah, so getting into the armor of it. So Varrac's armor has its uses. There's, you mentioned people killing Calphite Queen with it. So it has the special effect of Varrac's is that it lets you hit through prayer on occasion. And that has found its use at Calphite Queen for one. It was also really big before they changed Callisto. People would do Varrac's there. And I think also PKing, you could tell me, you know better than I would on that one.
I mean, didn't someone in Deadman mode use it once? They just like destroyed. I can't.
Potentially, I
guess
I actually don't know. But all that to say, Varrac's has its place, and then there's Torag, which has always been kind of the meme one, the most useless.
No, the dad bot.
Yeah, the dad bot and
beer gut.
But the thing about it is they did update it so that the hammers would have 2 hit splats, and it kind of found its use at Moon's Apparel a little bit, because for one thing, you're supposed to grind out Moon's Apparel or Barrows before you go to Moon's. But that aside, if you got those hammers, they were actually really good at the Blue Moon boss because of the way that they hit. So Torag's is still the least useful, but it did kind of find its niche. And then you have Carol's, which Carol's is known and beloved for the top and the skirt of it, which have great like magic defense, and they're kind of known as like, before you get Missouri, they're kind of the like range defense, like range/magic defense armor. Very tanky, which is something all of the Barrows equipment has in common. It's all very tanky, which is very useful. So Carol's has its place, and the Carol's crossbow also has its place. And then you have Guthan's, who has a healing effect, which is not super useful, but there are still, like you get those bots at Gargoyles who are just sitting in there with Guthan's and they are healing off of it. So it's got its use. Darox is probably mostly PKing, but there's a lot of uses for Darox of just, the idea of Darox is that the lower health you are, the higher damage you do.
Oh yeah. I feel like it's something if you had it in your bank, it's going to find its uses every now and then.
And then
I'm sure we'll get a new boss one day where you want to switch it.
Yeah, I actually didn't know. I was watching Behemoth and I didn't realize that like there's a PKing strategy where you hit your like locator orb to drop your health down so that you can hit him with the Darox mid-fight and PKing, which is
got to be a shredder for
that's a ballsy move. But then anyways, the crowning achievement is Aram's. The top and bottom, they updated them so they give you a magic % bonus, and they're they're one of 3 different options to get your first kind of round of magic gear. And yeah, so essentially everything from Barrows has its place is the point I'm trying to make. It's not, so some of them are more quickly outdated than others, but I think they've done a good job of finding ways to make Barrows somewhat relevant still.
Yeah, it's stood the test of time for sure. Okay, yeah. So Trey, what's your verdict for the Barrows brothers?
It's hard. I think I'm gonna give them the edge. I don't enjoy the fight, but I'm gonna give the edge to them because of the fact that there is still a lot of reasons to grind them. So I will say Smash.
I will too give it a Smash. I think it's great. I love how common the loot is. So like, it's just lots of moments to get excited in past days and present. So yeah, I always enjoy kind of grinding them out, mostly because you know it's not that you're not that far off from seeing some unique. So
Cool, our first
good
gangbang.
stuff. Let's see if the next will follow suit. So next for the next, I can't speak. Sorry guys, we took a quick little pause and I had to go chase my dog outside because she was screaming at her neighbor's dog because their dog got out and was running up. Anyways, I'm a lot out of breath. I thought I could hide it, but I can't. Okay, next boss came out October 4th, 2005. So like, I don't know, is that another like 6 months off from this boss?
Yeah.
Maybe. I can't do the math. So this is Jad. The fight caves came out, and we're going to talk about Jad, even though I guess you can't talk about Jad without really talking about everything that leads up to Jad. So I find it's another unique format in the sense that like if we're going just like launch order, gosh, they could have easily just redid another King Black Dragon, and it's the 4th boss. No one's going to care. But they decided to design something super unique. So it's a wave-based fight. So you're fighting little guys, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it all leads up to the big fight, which is the boss. It's super iconic. Like, to this day, people talk about Jad hands. You get one of the big milestone items. You learn how to prayer flick or switch prayers. That's cool. And so yeah, it's still a huge milestone. And what I really liked about it is they set it up in a great way for you to just stumble across it. Like when I remember playing when I was a kid, I didn't know what it was. I was just exploring this new cave that opened up in Karamja. And next thing you know, like you could easily jump in there and there's no risk. It's just your time. So I like that. It was really cool to stumble across. You didn't have to worry about stumbling across and dying and losing all your items like you would have with Calphite Queen. By the way, going back to Calphite Queen, during the days where you die and lose all your loot, that's friggin' insane they would design a boss like that.
For real.
Anyways, we're at Jad though. We're not talking about that. The things that I don't like about it, it's kind of long. Like the whole wave, all the waves can be kind of it's long. It's like 30 minutes if you're fast. The format is cool, but it's like gets old quick. Like it's more endurance than skill based. Like Jad is really scary and it's a big milestone, but I think it's a big milestone because of how long it takes to get there. So when you die, it's like, demotivating. And I think some of the models in fight caves look like really stupid. Like those, the 180s, they're like these weird priest looking dudes. They heal and stuff. Like, what the hell are they? It's like, you kind of like Jagex is back in the day where Jagex could design some goofy looking things and they don't have to explain what the hell it is you're looking at. Jad, I find Jad is kind of like that. Like it's one of the more better looking models, but it's like a dog. People call it a dog. And then the 360s are like frogs. I don't know. Not into it. But what do you think, Trey? What's your breakdown?
This is my iconic boss. I think that the first 3 we've talked about are bosses that either I wasn't able to kill back in like RS3 days or RS2 days. And well, I wasn't able to kill Jad either, but this was, this is like the gateway to PvM. And it's so iconic. It's so like, it's such a milestone, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
The things I love about the fight caves is, I guess first going back to, kind of the reason why we're going in chronological order, like where Jagex's head was at. This is the first time in the game we've seen reactive prayers. So Jad's attacks, he signals that he's doing something, and you have until the actual animation hits you to pray against it. Everything else, the hit, the attack was calculated and you had no chance to switch prayers against it. So this is kind of the birth of like prayer switching, reactive prayers, and something that will become a cornerstone of PvM going forward.
That's true. It's like actual mechanics in a fight that you need to react to. That's interesting. I didn't really think about that. That's cool.
And for the waves, we saw the introduction of, and not the introduction as in like something that was intended, but we saw the kind of birth of like safe spotting and like positioning on the boss being super important. To get through those waves, you have to get yourself in a position where you're not going to be like hit by everything. And the idea of all the different wave bosses having different mechanics, even I think it's really cool that the lowest tier boss, and this is kind of the same with the Inferno, that the baseline little thing actually is very important to kill, and a lot of times to kill first, because in the fight caves it drains your prayer. So you can't kind of similar in Tombs of Amascut. You have the thralls in the monkey room. It's like you ignore them because they're these low levels, but they're kind of secretly, well, it's not secret, but you know, it flies under the radar that it's draining your prayer the whole time. And for something like Fight Caves, where it's such a long endurance battle, that's super important. So you want to kill them first. So like everything has its own, everything's like in its right place, and you're having to constantly be kind of problem solving. And yeah, and it works so well as like the prototype for the Inferno, which we'll get to later. But yeah, I mean, I would not have guessed if this was how the bosses were laid out, that this is the order they would have gone in. Because yeah, Jad is such a huge swing as far as the mechanics and stuff, and the wave based format, which is almost like its own subgenre now with Inferno and Coliseum. And
yeah, it's like, it's surprisingly so, like, it's so iconic to this day. Like someone will get a fire cape in the chat, and like the clan goes crazy. I bet you every clan's like this. The clan goes crazy for someone's first fire cape. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's the gateway into further PvM. You know, it's the first thing that like people will say, like, you need to get your fire cape, and it'll test you. It is such a hard test. Your first fire cape is so difficult because you do all of everything I was just talking about with the waves, and you have to be somewhat competent at it, because you can, if you force your way through it, you're going to be out of supplies before the end. So you have, and once again, this is a long, most first fire capes are like an hour long. So this is a huge time commitment. And yeah, and then you get to Jad, and that's where we talk, the concept of Jad hands kind of came from, is that idea that one mistake and this entire hour was a waste. And yeah, it's unique. It's cool. Just a really, I mean, yeah, it is. It's still a super relevant part of the game. That's probably something that I want to keep hammering on for all of these early bosses, whether they're still relevant or not. And Fire Cape is still one of the first places you want to go on your account. Well, not first, but depending on where you are in the game, it's something that kind of opens up the mid game in a sense. And so, yeah,
and it's like what Jagex does beautifully. Like the Fire Cape stays your best in slot in a lot of places until the Inferno. Like you get other capes, but like still, I feel like you're always using the Fire Cape until you get the Inferno.
The Fire Cape is
then that just replaces
Fire
it.
Cape is your best in slot until you get the Fire Max Cape, and that's the kind of the highest you ever need to go with that.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I think if it's not obvious, the Jad is a resounding smash for me.
Yeah, I will have to give it a smash as well, even though while I'm doing it, I would feel like I want to give it a full-on pass. But, I struggled back in the day. I think I remember trying like 12 times. I borrowed full Guthans from someone because that was the meta's Guthans and the Carol's crossbow. Just what you did. And it was so tough. And then I remember I turned like 18. I had a credit card. I had a job. And I said, I'm going to get my freaking Fire Cape. And I went and I bought it with real world money. And I got some old lady. I don't know why. I think it was like an old lady. For some reason, I remember it being like, because I would chat with them on like a chat client thing. I remember thinking like, wow, this person is not who I thought would be the one getting this for me. I thought it was going to be some like teenager who's like pro gamer with his headband on and gamer gloves. And no, I think it was some like older lady trying to feed her family. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, good old pass. Next boss that came out after that is the Dagannoth Kings. I did put the three of them together because they are kind of like seen as their own boss, like the three of them. So that came out November 7th, 2005. So it really felt like in this era, it's a new boss every 6 months, basically. Like 2 bosses a year, which is, I don't know if that's a lot or not a lot. But yeah. Anyway, we got, I guess it's different when you have 3 bosses that are disguised as one. So the Dagannoth Kings came out after Jad. My notes here are, again, another unique format for a boss. Like, we haven't had 2 bosses that are completely similar. I mean, arguably, you could say King Black Dragon and Calfight are like kind of, but still, I would say no. The Calfight Queen is different enough from King Black Dragon that I would call it its own unique. So, like, we're still seeing unique bosses. They haven't doubled up on any of the themes. I like the theme of it. It's these, like, water beast dragon. I don't even know. These weird water monster things. and they just like are killing the Fremeniks. So like what I love about that is you're killing these Dagonoths and you're getting loot of like Fremenik people that have been killed there. So like the Fremenik sword and the shield and the helmet, that sort of stuff. So the loot's really cool and it feels like it tells a story. The lair is the most D&D dungeon that we have yet that we've from the boss's released. It is such a huge dungeon that, one, it's a pain in the ass to get through. There are at least one puzzle where you need to have two people or a pet rock, and then there's a puzzle that comes after that where you need the rune throwing axes to bounce to knock over the things to climb down. You can easily get lost in there because there's routes you can take that bring you nowhere, but you can also stumble across like dead Fremeniks that are like, or a Fremenik that's like stuck and is cornered, and if you help him, he gives you sharks. Like there's weird little subquests that happen in the dungeon that no one cares about today, but they're, again, the reason I keep hammering on the D&D stuff is because they talked about how much RuneScape was influenced by D&D, and it's like kind of cool. You can really see it. I like how the bosses are still challenging. If I'm too like relaxed, I'll get my ass kicked on my main today. And they are still quite iconic because of mostly the rings. The rings are super cool. Now my negatives are, if you die there, it's so friggin' annoying. Like the amount of money people have lost because they didn't want to run all the way back. So they go to Death's coffer and says, can you just bring my gear here? And then it's like, sure. And by the way, since you're having to fight 3 different styles, you probably brought a lot of best in slots and you're going to owe me like 5 mil. Like sometimes the price is expensive. And this is a negative, but it was really built as a D&D dungeon. It's just, it sucks to remember that no one plays like that anymore. So no one's going to DKs with another person exploring together. And so you have a partner to open the door for you. You need a pet rock now. So our play stuff, as we've grown up, we play differently. We don't care about exploring anymore. And a lot of things are forgotten there. Those are my notes. What do you got?
Yeah. So I think DKs are one of the most interesting. I think my positives are, like, the first thing that comes to mind is the way that they use, I'm a fan of Upgradescape. I know other people aren't, but yeah, I like that they kept them relevant by allowing the DT2 vestiges or to upgrade the rings instead of replacing them. So they still have a place in the game. The Dragon Axe comes from them, and
yep, Mudstaff.
And if you're able to get the Elite Fremenik Diary, then the bone drops from them is some great passive, kind of probably, almost in the category of, like I was saying with King Black Dragon, like a not like Vorkath level, like blue text bone drop every time, but something that will build up if you're just sitting there grinding them.
Oh yeah, if you're farming a task there, those bones, if you can get them noted, you make so much money from those bones alone.
Yeah, so that's almost all the nice things I have to say about them. But you cannot talk about DKs without talking about that run up. It is one of the worst things in the entire game. It is like having to bring your pet rock, having to bring your rune thrown axes, and then having to go through all these things, pray different things, and then running out of run energy. Even with the run changes, still running out of run energy by the time you get down there. And then, like, you get down there and you mess up the setup and you take too much damage, you telly out and have to do it again, or you forget something. You're doing 3 different attack styles, so you forget one thing and it's all messed up, and it is awful. But all that said, they finally added an agility shortcut down there. There's 2 agility shortcuts. They have a very high requirement. So
really, I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's one at, I want to say 80 that lets you skip like half of it, and then there's one at, I want to say 85 that lets you skip most of it. I might be wrong on those numbers. It's just off the top of my head. But yeah, so it's hard to talk about that without talking about how annoying it is. The setup of it. So essentially, when you go down there, all 3 of them will be attacking you. And the kind of the flow, if you've never done DKs before, is you kind of, you get in the flow where you're killing them one by one. So you're praying against one of them, you kill it, and then the next one spawns, and you kind of get them offset from each other. But to do that, you have to find a way to kill them when all 3 of them are attacking you. And that's very difficult for people to learn. And it's also, once again, if you mess it up, tell you out. Or you run up the ladder and then you have to go eat half your food. So it's a weirdly, like, it's hard to learn, but once you get into it, it's super simple. It's the only boss in the game where the long respawn timer it actually plays kind of an interesting part in it, because
So it becomes like a race.
well,
Yeah.
it's cool because like as your account progresses, the strategy it changes, because if you start killing them too fast, then they start spawning on top of each other. So you have to try to kill it at exactly
true.
the right time. So there'll be some times where like I'll use my offensive prayer because I need to kill it just a little bit faster. Or sometimes I'll turn off my offensive prayer because I need to kill it a little bit slower. And there's times where I'll just click on the floor to stand there for like 20 seconds just to make sure the timing, the rhythm of it is all evened out. And I think that part of it is actually really interesting.
That is cool.
I
love it's an unintended, right? There's no way they intended for it to be like that. But I love when those things develop. Again, I think it's the beauty of the game where the fights they grow with us in a way.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be probably 20 bosses down this list before we get to a boss that is the current meta is the way they intended it to be killed. All of this stuff is killed completely differently than they had intended it, which is kind of the weird janky charm of these old bosses, is how they're so simple and that leaves room for different things, whereas the new bosses are so railroady in the way that they force you to kill it in the way that they want them to be killed.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we mentioned this is going to be recorded over multiple parts, and I will forget saying this, but I think I might repeat myself, but I think this is the ugliest pet in the game. All three of them. I have no interest in them. They just look like a gray blob to me. And I think that's a hot take from some of the different things I've heard from people. And the fact that it's 3 separate pets that are all 1 in 5,000 is brutal.
Yeah, I do think it would be cool. I always loved. I forget where I heard this idea, but imagine if you get the 3 bosses, you can combine them. They turn into just 3 pets following you. Like that'd be cool. They turn into 1 pet when you get all 3 of them. I think that would be sweet. But I agree, especially Rex. That's the pet that I have. He's just got like a gimp hand that's just like a giant claw. Like that doesn't look right. Yeah, it's unfortunate. What else is there to say? Oh, I guess let's just say this last part, because this is like neither a pro or a negative, I guess, because it drops like their own set. They have like the spined and the skeletal, and there's another one I'm forgetting, like the rock shell or something. And they're supposed to be like the mage melee range, but it never became a thing. Maybe it's just so annoying to make, and they just were never really that good. But cool idea nonetheless. I don't have anything more to say about these bosses, but anything else you want to say before we give it the stamp of approval or stamp of we don't like you?
Stamp of disapproval. Nope. I got nothing else.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So what are you giving it? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
No, you'd think
green stamp, red stamp.
Like 5 bosses in, I'd be prepared for this. I don't know what I'm going to give it. I think I'm going to pass. You know what? I am going to pass, and I'm going to prove it because I got spooned the Magus Vestige, which is the magic one from Duke. And I have, you can buy chromium ingots now. So I have chromium ingots. I have the Magus Vestige, and I have not gone down to get my Seer's ring, even though I can get the best in slot magic ring.
Ooh.
So yeah, I think I've proven with my actions that it's a pass.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm almost on the fence. I'm going to give this one a smash, but it's a very slight, like it's right on that edge, I think. It's definitely getting bonus points for like the cool dungeon it's in, and yeah.
Like this is
that's where most of the points come
like
from.
this is like you went to the bar, you didn't have any success, and like you're sitting on the bench outside the bar and you drunk text your ex. Like it's that kind of smash, like it's last resort smash.
I think so, but then you go there, and I think you're either left. You have strong feelings when you're leaving your exes. You're either feeling like, oh my god, that was way better than I remembered, or it was like, oh yeah,
you get back together afterwards. You're like, yeah, we really did have something.
We'll make it work. We will make it work. Next up, this is a wacky one. It feels too early for this one to be talked about, but the next boss that came out after Dagonoth Kings is the Chaos Elemental, which came out like 4 months after Dagonoth Kings, February 20th, 2006. My notes here is, again, yet another new format for a boss. It's a roaming, quote unquote, world boss. Like it doesn't have a layer. It's just out in the middle of the wilderness. No, not in the middle, but it's up north in the wilderness, and it just kind of roams around randomly. It has like mechanics that are like specifically kind of, it's like an intersection of like PvM and PvP because it has like this mechanic where it teleports you away. So if there's that definitely like affects if a PKer is trying to kill you, if you're killing a PKer, getting like having you and the person you're chasing just teleported randomly. And then there's another mechanic it has that it disarms you, which definitely again can play really well into a PvP scenario. I gave this a positive, I guess, because it's really weird looking. I don't know why that's a positive when I put it down on my notes, but it looks weird. It's a cloud with like tentacles. Like no one really knows what it is. My negative notes is I don't feel like it fits in at all today. Like if there's any boss that you could like, yeah, you could probably remove this and I don't think anyone would really care. That might be one of the bosses. It's just weird. It's like floating around, just doesn't fit where it is. I don't find the loot sucks. Like the Dragon two-hander is what was new, but yeah, I don't know. It didn't even feel really worthy back then. And the boss is just really annoying. I don't know if you ever killed it, but it's like kind of annoying. You got to bring stews because it disarms you. And I don't know. Yeah. What are your thoughts of the good old Chaos Elemental?
I kind of like it. It's a weird. I like what they got going on as far as the Chaos Elemental, and then there's the Chaos Fanatic, where there's like I don't know anything about the lore, but there's just some weird shit going on in the wilderness. This is just like a cloud. It's a cloud with tentacles that floats around. But yeah, there's a lot to say about, well, maybe there's not. But, starting off with the Chaos Elemental, it has the like most common pet rate in the game. So common, in fact, that if we ever have like any pet tile in our bingos, we have to exclude Chaos Elemental because it's that like fast.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the pet, this little fart cloud that follows you around. But the fight itself is super weird. Like you said, like you can either just kind of stand there and attack it. There's like a flinching method that's only for like super low levels. That's really weird. But I think once again, the new mechanic introduced is probably something that you wouldn't have like expected, but the way that it will disarm you and like unequip your items if you don't have any open inventory spots. Once again, this is kind of a prep boss because if you prepare properly and bring the type of food that leaves behind something when it's eaten, so stews and pies that leave their like bowl behind, then it can't disarm your items. So if you properly prep for it, that mechanic is kind of null. But it does add kind of a fun aspect to it. A really dumb thing that I have to do with Chaos Elemental is I don't feel like turning off my barbarian smashing, so I always take all of my potions down to one dose, and then I like combine them with each other, and then like you'll drop them only if you're replacing something in your inventory, but you forget that your looting bag is open, so it goes in your looting bag, and then you have an open inventory spot, and then your next kill is all messed up. So yeah, it is a chaotic boss. It fits its type very well there, but I don't know. I'm kind of right in the middle on this one. I don't have any reason to go there besides for the pet. You can get the dragon pickaxe from it, but I think there's definitely better options now. But back in the day, that was definitely like a meta, and and then there's always the kind of the turd in the punch bowl with a boss like this is you can just sit there and kill the boss, and then some PKer comes and ruins your whole good time.
Yeah, and it's kind of rare, but you do see it because in a spot where like there are PKers that are hopping around there, but not a whole lot because the loot sucks so much that if they kill you, they might get like 50k of loot that you've got from the boss. It's that bad. But it's in a spot where there's a lot of traffic, so you're just like, you might just get caught up. I don't know. Have you seen the way it looks in RuneScape 3?
No, I haven't.
It's like a full-on. I'll take a picture. It's like a demon now. Like they've changed. It looks so different. I don't know if I like it more or not, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know what it is right now. And I like how in RuneScape 3 it does look like a monster. Yeah, it looks like a demon. It's got like 4 arms. It's floating. There's a bit of a cloud underneath it, but it looks like an abyssal demon.
That's like a negative in my book, that it looks like. I think it's being a fart cloud is unique, whereas this is like a, this looks like a lot of other stuff. So
yeah, that's true.
I'm on the fence, but I think I like our version better.
Yeah, I'm on the fence too, but I think so. I think I'm gonna give the Chaos Elemental a pass. I want to give it a smash just for creativity alone, but I want to do a pass just because. Yeah, I just don't like. There's not much that I like about it.
Yeah,
I like the creativity.
I
like the
I'm
effort.
also going to give it a pass, but it's going to be the type of pass that you always get with the Chaos Elemental, which is where you're running by it to get to something else and it just hits you for like a 30. You just
Yeah, it's nice when it teleports you a few tiles farther, like the direction you're running. That's
the rare
nice.
time.
All right, and our next boss is the Giant Mole. Came out March 7th, 2006. So that came out 2 weeks after the Chaos Elemental. But again, those both bosses feel a little bit weird, especially Giant Mole. Like it is a boss, but it definitely feels, I don't know. Here's my positives. Again, another sort of unique fight, but maybe less unique. It runs around in its lair. You got to chase it. I think that's pretty cool. And it digs around and all that sort of stuff. That's pretty unique. I love that it's underground in Falador. Like that's a huge pro. Like being a noob and just learning you can dig in the park and then you go, like, that's an Easter egg that like stumbling across is so cool. That it's just, it's in a city. There's a boss underground a city. Like I love that. I want more of that. So it's a really cool boss for noobs to discover. My negatives are like the fight sucks. It's only tolerable these days because we have all this quality of life they've added to diary rewards to make it not suck as much. And then the loot's pretty bad. And I think they did the same thing by making getting birds' nests easier. But yeah, I don't know. There's not much exciting about this boss. But I guess it's a very average boss. But the location of it is really cool. Like it does. I love that a lot. That's in Falador. What do you think of the Giant Mole?
I love this boss.
Oh, you love the boss. What do you love about it?
So it's kind of,
it seems so like bland sort of to me when I think about it.
I love its blandness. No, so it's kind of funny. Right before we started recording, obviously we're doing bingo and I wanted to find something, pretty chill to do while we were recording. And I started doing Giant Mole because I'll come back to this in a minute, but it's a great Bofa boss. But I found that it was just like 10% too involved to, for something to AFK while we're recording. So I didn't keep doing it, but I did kill Giant Mole this morning. And yeah, so Giant Mole was my first stop on my Bofa rebuild because it drops the mole claws and the mole skins, which both can be exchanged for bird's nests. And what that does is it makes a consistent amount of profit for mains because they're very valuable, and it's a consistent amount of useful bird nests for irons. So there's a reason to kill it on both types of account, which is really cool. Obviously that's something that has come along the way. That's not, once again, not intended. But anyways, the fight itself, I really enjoy it. So the mole spawns, and I kind of found this because I went to maybe, I think it was like 3,100 for the pet on my main. And I found a spot where right where it spawns, if you set your cannon exactly here and you stand exactly here, you'll be safe spotted, and you'll also get your cannon. It'll be standing in the double hit spot of your cannon. So you're just you're hitting it as much as possible before it digs. And when it digs, it's very annoying. You have to go find it. You have an arrow pointing, but you're burning through staminas and whatever. So definitely will agree that the digging part, having to go find it, was a mechanic that they introduced that I don't know where their head was at. That doesn't sound like in your meeting, like pitching a fun boss, like, oh yeah, it leaves and you have to go find it again. And I'm assuming at the time you don't have any way of knowing where it went, so you're just running around trying to find it. Mm-hmm. Kind of a weird idea of a mechanic. So that part of it is obviously the worst part, but it's still very, very chill. It's great profit, and I think it's a great first stop for any main that's doing a Bofa rebuild, because if you go for pet, if you go to rate, you're going to get a ton of money that will get that rebuild started, and you need very little gear to kill it.
I'm just looking. Oh, you know what? I was going to see when farming came out to see if this came out with farming. Like maybe it was meant to be as like just a side thing to farming, but farming actually came out like a year before Giant Moles. That doesn't check.
Interesting.
Out. Yeah, it is. It definitely feels like, wow, this seems very random on the list. Like there's no uniques with it, but random can be good sometimes, I guess. Like just a freebie. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts on this. I remember being super excited when I was a lower level to kill these, and then at some point you just realize that like you're not going to get money from this. Like it's the U logs are what you're excited to get, and it's like that's like not much.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's one of my favorites. Probably top 10 bosses. It's just so simple.
Wow.
And I love the pet. The pet's dumb, and you'll see a through line as I talk about pets that the dumb ones are my favorite.
That's cool. Okay, so I is that a smash that I'm hearing?
Oh yes, that is a official smash.
I'm right on the fence. I'm right in the middle. I could go either way. I do want to say pass though, because it's just I don't know. It never feels great having to kill it in my like when I kill it. But I do love that it's. I want to give it a smash just because it's found in a city, so close to a bank. Like that's just a cool. I love the idea of just random people stuff. I just like the idea of a giant animal living underneath Falador. That's neat.
So what's your official verdict on this?
I think I'll have to do a pass just because that's what I was going into it thinking.
Damn. All right, fair enough.
Oh, I don't know. I want to say smash though because I do. You know what? I will say a smash because I want there to be more like. Yeah, you can go far into a dungeon to kill a monster, or sometimes there's a monster living in the crypts and underneath a city. Like I love that's cool. Okay, you know what? That alone will make it a pass.
We need a monster in a bank.
Oh, could you imagine that? Well, okay, I've thought of this. Sometimes I like to think of like I like to just play make believe and pretend I'm a JMod. And what would I add to the game? But I was always like, how cool would it be if there's like a sepulcher, but it's thieving. And and instead of that, there's different tiers of it, but they're like sepulcher level activity and difficulty. I want to thieve and break into the vaults of the city banks. Like, how cool would it be? Like the end game vault hunting was like the GE, but you could do Falador at lower levels, and like different cities have like easier security to bypass to get to their treasury.
No,
cool. And it's like a raid, but for thieving.
I completely agree. I think agility and thieving go hand in hand.
Yeah, they kind of do. But I like things when they're in a city. It just feels, I don't know. It's cool. You always expect them to be in a dungeon far away. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're right at home. Trey, we've been going on for quite some time, and we have plenty of more. We've only gone through like 7. I had thought at the beginning of the episode, I said we might have to break this into multiple episodes because I thought there might be a way we could get through over 50 bosses, but we can't. So why don't we save this for another episode, because the next batch of bosses we'll be talking about are the first, arguably old school RuneScape bosses, but you could argue they're not either, but they're the first deviation from that. It's the God Wars bosses. We're going to talk about the God Wars bosses next episode, I think. And this is a weird one because they did come out in 2007, but they didn't come out in old school RuneScape. So if we're going by OSRS timelines, they were released in OSRS in 2013 instead. But yeah, we can talk about those iconic bosses later. Any final thoughts before we take a quick break and then do like the show notes? And
yeah, no, I'm excited.
See if we have any callers.
I'm excited because by the time we record our next episode, now that I have the Bofa, hopefully I'll have killed all of them on my iron, so that I'll have it kind of fresh in my head. But
cool.
Yeah, I love talking about these bosses. I think this was such a good idea, and I told you that this was going to be like a 10-part series because we just, me and you just love to talk, and there's so much to talk about with every single one of these.
Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking. I remember when I listened to like this League of Legends podcast way back, and they were like, we're going to talk about every single item in League of Legends.
Oh my God.
Like the items you can, and they took like 10 episodes to get through it, but I kind of liked it. But this is a little bit of like where we've sort of been playing with the idea of moving our format away from like talking about news every week, and then sometimes maybe just like talking about different topics. And sometimes I get a little bit bored just talking about the news, especially if I'm not like, I don't know, if it's a piece of news that I don't really care about. This is a little bit more fun, but I'm curious if the listeners, if you guys like this change. We did get a caller, guys. If you want to call us, or you can always write messages on Discord or our email, or just send it to us privately, and then we'll try to remember and sometimes forget, especially if it's in game. But you don't have to call in, but if you do want to call in, there's a SpeakPipe link in the show description. Just click that, you can record your message. But again, send us a message on Discord if you want to be a part of the conversation, because that works as well. But let's go back. We have a caller, so we're going to play this.
Hey, Wildy boys. It's been a while. This is Maticos1 calling in from his office, as I usually do. I am not exactly answering your question. I'm actually posing a question, and it's about the episode on the account types, like Iron Man, normal account, hardcore Iron Man, etc. And I was wondering what you thought about the vegan account build. So you can only do vegan things. For example, you can't wear animal products, you can't eat animal products. I tried this with my friend back in like actually 2006, 2007 or something, and it's extremely limiting. Unfortunately, there's no vegan cheese or vegan tuna or anything like that in RuneScape. So the amount of things you can do to actually stay alive and sustain yourself is quite small. You also can't kill animals. It's okay to kill humans, but no animals. So it's a pretty difficult game mode. And I was wondering if you, I guess, have tried that or any other sort of stupid account build. Cool. Peace.
Oh, Maticos1, thanks for calling in. The vegan account build. Gosh, I feel like I've heard of that. I don't know if I know anyone who plays it. I don't think I would last. What would you even eat for food? Like to heal yourself? I'm trying to think.
Yeah, because I was about to say brews, but brews come from birds' nests, so that would probably not work either.
You can't do that. Oh, you can bring up a good point though. Like, what? This is gonna get dark. In a Sarah brew, like, why does it have to be bird's nest? Why can't it just be sticks or something? Like, what part of the bird's nest are you using?
Well, yeah, it's true, because when there is an egg in the nest, you take it out. So it
Well, only when it's like a special egg though. So maybe you just maybe it's not worth like pointing out in the game when there are like other eggs, like actual baby bird
you just
eggs.
throw them to the side, smash on them or something. Yeah, Sarah brews, and that's, I mean, obviously these kind of special account builds, everybody kind of has their own rules for that. So maybe that's something that people go back and forth between.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm trying to think what you would even eat. I should probably look this up on like foods, OSRS foods. There are a lot of cool and wacky accounts. This is me just stalling, so I can pull up the foods.
What about chili potatoes? Would that be? That's a pretty high healing.
Chili has meat though, right? No, not always.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to fill in the gaps yourself, right? So you could say, oh, well, my chili doesn't have meat in it. But there's potato with cheese.
Yeah.
You could buy potato with cheese from the Warriors Guild. That would be a huge source of food. Oh, wait, cheese. God,
But
my
cheese.
God.
Yeah, you can't do cheese. Summer pie might be a good one. Although I'm going to look up what an actual summer pie is. Here's the first. Cream cheese.
Oh, my
Damn
God.
it won't work. It's tough. I don't think I would last at all, because one, I would forget. Trey, you would instantly forget. He's like eating cheesy potatoes the whole time. Cheater.
Yeah.
Basket of strawberries. By the way, basket of strawberries are freaking. I love that. That's like always a useful. It heals the most amount of food. Oh, can I back up about tormented? Can I back up 3 hours of the podcast and revisit something I said? Tormented demons. It's so cool that when they die, they leave stuff that you can eat, and you have to consume it. Like it gives you prayer, or it restores your health, or it gives you your boost in stats.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, that is
I like
cool.
that.
That's a cool little side effect of them.
That probably wasn't. I didn't need to bring that up, I guess. Let's see. Yeah, that's tough. But then you do get a lot of like gnome cooking. What is a tangled? Nope, toad's legs. That's not gonna work. Pre-made chocolate bomb. Nope. If that's real, if it's like milk chocolate, that won't work. Although, I guess if it's real chocolate, that would be fine. I feel like I'm just like thinking out loud while I'm reading through the food list. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Can I bring up another point that I'm assuming with this vegan build, he kept saying animals. So do they differentiate animals and like monsters?
Yeah, that's tough. That's like, yeah, like a sour hog. That's probably an animal. But like a basilisk. Well, it's probably an animal too.
Yeah, and like, I mean, because then you're getting to the point where like this account's not even fun to play because you can't actually do any PvM. So I would assume that it's like there's a difference between like maybe animal is represented by things that we have in our world, and like monster are the fantasy things. But you know, there that would open up some. I don't know. Is there any like quote unquote monster that has a food byproduct that I'm not thinking of.
Like dragons are, I don't know if this would answer your question, but dragons are a weird one because they are mythical. But like if dragons existed, they would 100. They're just lizards, really. That
Yeah.
I'm sure they can blow fire and they can speak English and they like to hoard gold and they can like transform into other beings. But like, does that stop them from being an animal?
Well, and like
I feel like you'd have to ask PETA.
I'm pretty sure I don't remember the lore exactly, but I think Vardorvis was once a person. Although I guess for some reason people are allowed. So if you could eat people meat, then you're good to go.
That's true.
Well,
That's true.
that's our verdict. Just cannibalism.
That's it. So veganism always leads to cannibalism. Confirmed.
Yeah.
Wow, that's dark.
Yeah.
Okay. I do. There's someone in like no currencies, and they play like never using currencies. That's kind of cool. I'm trying to think of like other. I used to be in this server that had all these like really unique snowflake accounts, but I can't remember them now. But
It's a weird balance for me. I think there's some because I mean we've just gone so down the rabbit hole of like insane account builds and content creation. And for some reason, I think once you get past a certain point where it's too restrictive, like I tune out. Like that was kind of my experience with the Nightmare Man mode. Like it was just too much. It was like too restrictive in my opinion, and I couldn't get into it.
I really enjoyed that series. I forgot about it. I might be missing episodes. Is it over?
Couldn't get into it. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. What was I gonna say? I had this one idea for unique account builds, but it required multiple people. So like, I definitely am gonna think about this down the future. I'm gonna bug some people, but it has to be the right people who are down for these type of builds. But I had this idea of doing a group Iron Man, but you played it like Dungeons and Dragons. So like every player, you had to choose the class. So if you wanted to be magic, you can't train your melee stats or range. You're just magic. And then you have someone who's range, you have someone who's like melee. I thought that idea would be really fun because then like if you have enough people that you're all dedicated the same amount. So but then you need money, so you need the major to alch all of it, and there's maybe a certain boss that only the ranger can kill, so then you want the range. I thought it would be cool to be like you'd end up in interesting scenarios when you have like one of each combat style and you need to like find a way to work together to do certain things. I felt like that would have been fun. And I tried to do it once with a bunch of people and they were all loved the idea. So we made our group Iron Man and then they all were like, well, I'm going to train my other skills still. No, you can't do that. And they're like, well, I'm going to train my defense up or whatever. And anyways, it fell apart because I wanted it to be stricter and they wanted to have fun. That pissed me off real bad. Guys, how are we gonna go viral on YouTube if you're not all taking this as serious as I am?
That's right.
Oh,
I will say that one of my restricted account builds that I've always wanted to either do or see someone else do would be a 4-chunk group. So each group rolls a random chunk and they're starting in that chunk. And the idea would be that you could like if one person completes their chunk, you could actually like give that to another teammate. And so you would be working together to like slowly unlock the map. And I don't know, the end goal would maybe be like have it so all 4 of you can meet up. But
that'd be cool. And do like a raid together. That's I like that idea. That's really cool.
Yeah, and it would be cool. But yeah, once again, getting 3 other people who are as on board with that as you are is near impossible.
Yeah, it has to be a perfect storm. Maybe, you know what, Trey, maybe we'll both get bored of our irons at the same time, and then we only have to find a couple more people, and then we got our
there you go
chunk man group thingy. But anyways, yeah, so yeah, vegan idea, I would fail instantly, but I do like these restricted account builds, and I will say that if anyone is bored or something, like, and you have a cool idea, like, honestly, try it. Try these self-imposed restrictions, and you might end up having way more fun than you expected. I did that to myself with this UIM that I was only going to train skills and the only combat I was going to do is defense. And it hooked me. I had way more fun than I expected. I did it just because I was wanting to play RuneScape, but I didn't want to play my main anymore. And then, yeah, it hooked me for a while. And I don't play it now, but it was a lot of fun. Way more fun than I thought it would be. So try it out. Thanks, Manicos, for that call. Trey, anything else before we kind of say all of our little notes and then we get on out of here?
No. I'm excited to. I had a lot of fun talking about the bosses. I'm excited to do more of it.
Me too. I thought we were gonna get through. Like, we have so many fun ones coming up. Like, really, we have kind of talked about the most boring bosses. So it's only uphill for here, and we go downhill a little bit, but then we go uphill again. So it's gonna be great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, guys. We have bingo going on right now, which you can't play if you haven't signed up, but we do a lot of fun stuff. So like, feel free, like, come join the clan and get up on the next bingo. It's this is my first bingo, and it's fun. I'm having a fantastic time. So highly recommend. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Oh gosh, like I stayed up for late Friday night and I was just like enjoying myself. But some of the guys, man, there's some funny people in the clan. I was giggling like all night. It was good fun. So yeah, come check it out. Our clan is wild. Our Discord is discord.gg/wilderness.
Oh,
it
here
used
we
to
go.
be the wilderness. It's not the wilderness anymore. It's discord.gg/wilderness. If you do the other one, you're gonna go to a Rust server, and they're friggin' weird over there. They're friggin' weird. So you're gonna go over there. You're gonna be like, oh my god, is Dilz play Rust now? And he seems to have fucking gone crazy. So just stay out of there. Just come to ours. We're normal-ish. And then our email is TheWildernessPodcast@gmail.com. And you can leave comments on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. Trey, you mentioned you want to start shouting out those comments going forward. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I didn't realize that was like a functionality of Spotify, and I read a bunch of comments, and I hopefully next episode I'll have them all prepared and I'm going to read some. So even more so, leave comments. I promise we know that they're there now.
Yeah, and the tough part is you have to like manually check. So like I constantly forget that those are things, and like, oh, I did a poll of like what's your favorite account type, and I think Iron Man won. That was like weeks ago. I forgot. So there you go. But yeah, so leave comments, leave reviews, and you'll get a shout out from Trey. Yeah. So yeah, do that. And yeah, that should be fun. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else we're forgetting? Probably not. And yeah, our song of the week. I don't know. Okay, out of the bosses we talked about today, who would you say? Like, we gotta play music from one of them. Which one is it gonna be? Which one do you want to choose?
I think we should play this is a complete left turn, but I think we should play the music that plays at the Mind Altar in honor of the sponsor we had, Magic Mind.
Okay, that's good.
Don't forget that.
Not one of the bosses we talked about, but honestly, such a good song. I don't know why. You just go into like an altar sometimes, and it's such a good song. And what the crazy part is, the good part doesn't even kick in until like a minute in. And who the hell's staying more than like 10 seconds in the Mind Altar? I have no idea. Okay, yeah, let's do that. And of course, thanks again to Magic Mind. Guys, if you want to get some energy and you want to support the show and you want to get into like juices and stuff, it's magicmind.com/wilderness_pod. And then you have the coupon code wilderness20. So go ahead and use them. They see that people are using our code, and they're gonna be like, oh, maybe we'll help these guys out a little bit more. And then honestly, they pressure us to record more often. They have like, well, you guys are doing episodes weekly, right? One's like, oh yeah, guess we will.
They encourage us.
I'm kidding a little bit, but they encourage us. Trey's always been a bit more of the wordsmith. Anything you want to say before we get on out of here?
No.
Again,
I mean,
I think I already asked you that.
No, yeah. But next time I come on this podcast, I will be a bingo winner. I'm just putting that out there.
It's already decided. It's like when articles have already written about a celebrity that's dead before they've died. Already finalized that.
But nope, that's all.
Cool. Fun note about the Mind Altar. It's shaped like a brain. Oh my god, it is too. That's crazy. The room is shaped like a brain. And the song is not found on this page. That's disappointing. So we'll just play the song. Oh, it's Miracle Dance. And yeah, it came out 2004. Okay, guys, thanks for listening. Please let us know what you think about these types of episodes, because we want to do more of them like it. And the only way we'd stop is if you told us we hated it. So actually I don't know if we want to stop. So maybe don't tell us how you feel.
You can tell us how you feel. We'll take constructive criticism.
Okay. Tell Trey and he'll filter out the positive stuff for me.
Perfect.
I don't do well with negativity. Okay, thanks everyone for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.